Okay, so before we go straight into the chat, I'm honored to welcome Engineer Liu Aziz, our special guest today. Engineer Aziz is a visionary technology leader whose 44-year career spans engineering, software, uh, national identity systems, and large-scale public sector transformation. He believes deeply in the power of continuous learning and the ability of Africans to shape the future through technology and disciplined innovation. Before becoming the DG of NIMSI, Engineer Aziz served in key national roles that shaped Nigeria's digital and infrastructural foundations. At the Federal Capital Territory Administration, he led major ICT modernization initiatives and contributed to the systems and infrastructure that support Abuja's growth and urban development. He later, uh, before he joined FCT, he was at BPP, where he played a strategic role in developing technology frameworks that strengthened and the transparency and accountability of the Nigeria's procurement processes. He is currently the principal partner at Integrated Engineering Associates. He is the national vice president of the Nigeria Structural Engineering Association and is the current advisor to the Global Advisory Board of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. A lifelong engineer, he has worked across academia, government, and industry, always pushing the boundaries of what is possible with technology. He is passionate about mentoring the next generation of builders, supporting young innovators, and demonstrating that with curiosity, discipline, and adaptability, Africans can lead in the global digital future. This is Engineer Aziz, and you'll hear more from the horse's mouth today. Engineer Aziz, we are highly honored to have you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Faiz, and every other person. Welcome, please.
You're welcome, sir. So we'll go straight into the conversation. Sorry. So this moment is incredibly special for me, from being your nephew, mentee, and student to sitting here now as a host of a podcast where I get to learn from your 44 journey. I want to thank you for the countless lessons, opportunities, and mentorships. Many people here might not know, the relationship between you and me, but it has been a very long and very fruitful one. But let's start where the story really begins for you, not in the boardroom, but in Ganye, local government of Adamawa State. I know I always hear you passionately talk about your time in Ganye, in school, secondary school, and stuff like that. So can you please take us back to that moment? How was life in Ganye, and how did it spark, your curiosity and engineering profession? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Faiz, and you are right to start in Ganye because everything, the computers, the NIMSI work, and the AI today, all of it traces back to those early days in my uncle's house in Ganye. Of course, everybody has a beginning, and that is where my beginning too started. You know, when people ask where I am from, I say Ganye, not that I was born there, but because that is where I was formed. That is where I learned the fundamentals that are still with me today. And that is where I did my primary school and also my secondary schools. And Ghana in the 1960s and early 70s was let me paint a picture for you. I lived in my uncle's house, not a mansion, a communal home, an African home, like for any other person. My mom, my uncle, my brothers, sisters, and grandmother, aunties, cousins, and a rotating cast of visitors. Uh, if you can imagine the living arrangement, you will understand why I learned very early that that you need to share. So we share everything, clothes, books. We ate together in age groups, and we performed shows together. My uncle was a tailor, a farmer, and a small contractor. And when he got contracts to sew like school uniforms, we joined in sewing the buttons. And also as a Fulani, he had cattle that needed grazing. Now this is where it gets interesting. My mother was my first teacher. She taught me to read and write the Quran. She was gentle, patient, and she was also the mediator in the family. When there were disputes, she would resolve them with wisdom and kind words. So because I was the last born of 6 children, I had a special attachment to her. You know, last borns always have special attachment to their mothers. And because she instilled in me early the importance of learning, I loved school. I dared to be smart also. But here is the problem also. Some of my classmates hated me for it. And anytime I answered questions correctly in class, I had to run home immediately just before the school ended, just to dodge the bullies waiting to beat me up. So some of these boys saw intelligence as negative. But thankfully, I had my mother and my brothers who had to constantly encourage me that don't give up. So giving up was something I could not afford. And that mindset, refusing to limit yourself to a finite number of attempts, that started in that in that Ganye. And we competed among our groups to to complete the Quran. I finished first, but that came with additional responsibilities. As they said, every hard work is rewarded with more work. So I had to graze the cattle more times than my peers. So I do 5 days in a week, while my other peers do the remaining 2 days. So picture this, a little boy with a stick and a water bottle, grazing cattle from dawn till dusk. No warm lunch boxes, no snacks, just endurance. So, but you know what? It taught me hard work, perseverance, care. Caring for those animals taught me something about responsibility and empathy that affects how I see people in this day. Later in life, I learned that all the prophets were shepherds too. So rearing animals is one of the 3 most difficult jobs. along with farming and teaching. So that is why we have to respect our teachers. At an early age, juggling all of these taught me independence, self-discipline, and also responsibilities. So those are the values that help me today with multitasking, multiprocessing, and navigating turbulence times. So as the system thinking, that came from trying to figure out how to balance the Quran, the house chores, school, cattle grazing, and still have time to play. You have to optimize. You have to think in systems. You have to prioritize. So that wasn't engineering yet, but it was the foundation bias.
Very, very interesting and inspiring. This definitely explains the foundation of how you think, and everything is engineering. You optimize everything, how you manage your time, and so on. That time there was no computer, no internet, no AI. Now, we all have this thing at the tips of our fingers. So, but it's really interesting, your early journey. And then we are talking about mainframes to AI. You are fortunate to go through all these stages of technology. And going from Ghana now, you moved to ABU where you started your undergraduate. So just to fast forward how it all started when it comes to computer. You were part of the early students at ABU Zaria who encountered the CDC Cyber 72 mainframe. I don't really know what this means. At the Iya Abubakar Computer Center, can you tell us more about it? What was it like learning programming on a mainframe in those early days? How did that shape your thinking about computing and problem solving?
Thank you very much. So let me tell you how I got to that computer center. I I had just finished afternoon lectures and I was walking back because those days you go to the university before your WAEC results comes out. So as I was walking back to the hostel, I met my classmate. Then he told me immaturely and carelessly that you got division one. Then I was so happy. And at the same time, he told me, by the way, why didn't you go home? Anche mamanka tarasu, that is, your mother is dead. So I felt my whole world was crashing because as a young boy, so everything that I was doing, I thought I was doing it for my mom, who was my first teacher. So I was then squatting with my late uncle, uh, Uncle Salijo Ahmad in Suleiman Hall. I met him and his colleagues in the corridor and I swerved to avoid them. I walked quickly to our room and I was crying. So he noticed and followed me and was asking me what happened. I couldn't say anything until he now says, Adada, that is my mother's nickname. Then I nodded. So at that moment, I felt I didn't need to go to school anymore. My whole reason for existence in my small mind didn't exist anymore. But time heals, and the ability to focus and build inner strength to face challenges is a life support mechanism. So at that defining moment, I found solace and joy in computers. So that is the Iya Abubakar Computer Center, an edifice hosting the CDC, that is Control Data Corporation, Cyber 72 series mainframe, which was 64 kilobytes of memory. Can you imagine 64 kilobytes of memory now? Think about that. Your phone today has what? Maybe 12 gigabytes. That is millions of times more computing power than that machine. But to me, it was magic. And that is where my learning process started. And we didn't type on a keyboard. That is for senior guys, and see results on screen. We started with punch cards. So you punch holes in the cards with specific patterns, commands to start the program, commands to call the compiler, and then your text and the commands to end it. Then you submit them to the computer operators, and you waited sometimes hours and for your program to run and results to be printed. So my first program was in Fortran, because that is what we were taught in engineering for numerical analysis course. And the task was like compute the cosine of theta using mathematical series expansion. So it wasn't like modern programs whereby they said print a hello world. No, it was that real cosine series expansion, not using a calculator, not using the built-in function, writing the entire algorithm from scratch. So I learned the fundamentals there, how to initiate a program, reading and writing operations, doing the arithmetic, looping, and also decision making. That is where the logic comes in. And that is where I started learning my if statement. And from then, I've been checking all the programming languages have if statement as one of the decision making. So this one just programming concept, I think there were ways of thinking about problems. So, and then my breakthrough, that is my engineering degree, became secondary to my fascination with the machine. While my classmates saw the computer center as show, waiting in lines, dealing with punch cards, cryptic error messages that you have to read some DOMs, I saw it as an adventure. Then came one of the moments. A mathematics PhD student was struggling to model the flow of hemoglobin in human veins. That is some complex fluid dynamics, some form of differential equations that requires computational solutions. Even me too, at that time, I did not know that it was Navier-Stokes equations that they were trying to solve. He had been stuck for weeks, but some people sent him to me, and I tackled it and I solved it. Somehow put efficiency into the program effortlessly. It seems to him, though I had spent hours understanding the problems and days refining the code. So word spread, and I became known on campus as the computer whiz kid. So engineering students, mathematics graduate students, even faculty members started bringing me their computational challenges. So each problem I solved built my confidence and deepened my understanding of what computers could do. And then my philosophy started crystallizing. So it was during those years, 1980 to 84, that I developed the philosophy that will guide my next 4 decades. So that is wisdom and knowledge acquisition is a moral duty. You won't get far in life by what you already know. You can only advance by what you are doing to learn after you leave. Yeah. If you stop learning, you stop growing too. So that is where the diversification principle came up. So I was an engineering student who became proficient in computing. I help mathematicians with their models. I work on problems outside my discipline. This wasn't diluting my engineering education, but it was enriching it. Through continuous learning and diversified knowledge, engineers can gain immensely from developing managerial, humanities, and also art skills. And social scientists too can learn modeling, design, and simulation. So the point is that we don't limit ourselves. You gain more from diversification with specialization. So that lesson, that became the blueprint for everything that follows.
Wow, thank you for that. Start with emotional story about how you got the news of your late mom. May her soul, perfect soul, rest in peace. And
Amen.
also the ABU computer whiz kid. I believe some of the engineers here are following. As an engineer too, I have to really try to catch up with some of the terms. But very interesting from mainframes, moving to personal computer. And for me, how this memory always come back to me is the first time I had access to computer. And that was, your personal computer at home in your bedroom. I think I was around probably 10, 11 years. We were spending the holiday in Kaduna. And, we always bump into your room. Sometimes after you probably spend late hours in the night, maybe doing some work, or it's on a weekend trying to catch up with some rest and sleep. We don't really care. We just bump into the room, you know, uh, on the computer, play games, and so on. And like some of you heard about the story, one of the games called Shadow Knight, the space bar was one of the main weapons we had to really utilize to be able to, overcome the enemies. And that, led us to spoil your keyboard. It was really for us, it was a big thing. Sorry. Yeah, because I recall there was no like a neighborhood computer shop to just go and get a keyboard. There was no Amazon to just make a simple order. It was a big deal. And but you were always patient with us. It wasn't like a major stuff. You just found a way how to replace this. So can you tell us, how did you develop this patience and the mentorship, ability to give people access to these things and remain patient with them as they navigate?
Well, thank you very much, Faiz. I think giving access myself too. When I went to ABU, I found that CDC Cyber 72. It was access to the computer that was given to me by uh, uh, the person that the center was named after him. That is Professor Iya Abubakar. So he built the center, and the computer was the largest in the whole of Africa. In fact, one day I went to him, I asked him what was he thinking to now? He said, no, early 60s when he went to the university in the UK, that every university was building a computer then. So when he became the VC. So the first thing he did for AB was to get that computer. So access is the most important things that you can. And I also remember that keyboard. I was thinking when I found it broken that I was thinking good, that they are engaged, they are curious, they are learning. That is cause and effect. So whenever you are learning, you must make mistakes. So, and a keyboard can be replaced, but the curiosity that broke it, that is the priceless journey. So here is what you didn't know. I was doing the same thing in the 1980s too. At the CDC Cyber 72 series, I was breaking things, not physically, but conceptually, making mistakes, debugging, learning by doing, having other people that I can ask, and then some that will guide you, because we also had a library upstairs. So twice I was directed to library. So that one time I asked certain things. Someone told me that the library is upstairs. So, and also when I started work, my boss also, okay, when I went for internship, my boss also told me in mine associate that when I said we haven't done this yet in school, then he told me that the library is down the corridor, turn right. So I've learned to have libraries from that time too. So debugging, learning by doing. So when I saw you and your brother completely absorbed in that computer, yes, losing sleep because you were up early, yes, losing a keyboard, but I saw something more important, that you were teaching yourself. That is the best kind of learning, not someone lecturing you, not memorizing formulas, but exploring, experimenting, failing, and also trying again. So that philosophy that you said I encourage you gently, that is because I learned from my mother. She was gentle. She never used uh, koboko. She understood that learning requires psychological safety. If I had gotten angry about the keyboard, what would you have learned? Fear, that is caution, that don't touch things? No. Calm. What you did learn is exploration. Exploration is allowed. Mistakes are part of the process. So you keep going that. And I think the big picture, that is the deeper truth, is that I was just giving you access to a computer. I was giving you the same gift someone gave to me in 1980, the invitation to be uncomfortable with something new. Because whenever you are comfortable is what you have already known. For you to know new things, you have to be uncomfortable. So in 1980, someone handed me a Fortran manual. In 1990s, I handed you that computer. In 2005, also, you mentioned somewhere I handed you Java book, but we can talk that later. But it's the same pattern, different tools, same principle. Growth happens in discomfort. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Like you rightly said, think many years later, after I just finished secondary school before I also went to the university. You just handed me over that Java book. I was more, we were more into QBasic, Visual Basic then, and also to connect it to another story. Like some years earlier, I think I just finished my JSS then too. And we wanted to go for swimming, buy shawarma and so on, but you always have, this effective way of getting people to learn. So we wouldn't get that for free. And you gave us assignment, with my brother Saad and Ahmad Salijo. We need to write a program first before we could go for swimming. I think that's how, we wrote the program to have collect data, result of students, find the sum, the average, the position, and present it in a form of report. And many people might not know that was really the idea, that became the genesis of FlexiServe. So can you tell us more about that style of mentorship, how you are able to effectively, get people to unlock their potential?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, you wanted ice cream and I wanted you to earn it. Uh, but here is what I was really doing, teaching you that value is created through effort. The ice cream was secondary. The primary lesson was you can build something useful. You can solve a real problem. And when you do, the reward comes naturally. So I didn't give you an abstract programming exercise. I gave you a real problem, compiling student results. Why? Because it was relevant. You understood what results were. It was achievable within your Q basic capability. It was also useful. Real people could use it, and it required thinking, not just copying code. So that is how you design effective learning. Give people problems just beyond their current ability. Make them stretch, but make it achievable. And most teaching is unfortunately abstract. Learn this syntax, memorize this function, but learning happens when you have intrinsic motivation. So you wanted ice cream, but more than that, you wanted to prove you could do it. You wanted to show me and yourself that you understood this machine. So that internal drive, that is what I was cultivating. And you can see the long-term impact. And look what happened. The QBasic result compiler, 20 something plus years later, it is FlexiServe, serving thousands of schools, touching hundreds of thousands of lives. Mm? You took a summer assignment for ice cream and turned it into a platform that is transforming education in Nigeria. So that is what happens when you teach people to build, not just consume. The ice cream was forgotten the next day, but the confidence that I can build something useful, that lasted for decades. Thank you.
Hmm. Thank you very much. That was a life-changing moment for me. And also just talking more about, you know, patience and giving people access. There was this time, I think, maybe during one of those ASU strikes and so on, and internet is just becoming popular. We use the dial-up, we plug the phone into the system and so on. And we tapped your phone line. You had one long wire from upstairs. We brought it down during the day. We will remove it and hide it. When it's past midnight, we'll connect it into the computer and start browsing the net. We don't know how much bill we costed you then. But one night, one day, I think we were downloading something and we didn't want to disrupt it. It was morning and somehow I think you lifted the phone upstairs and you heard the burst sound of the internet modem and so on, and ran downstairs, caught us red-handed. For us, we thought that was the end. We were very scared and so on. But I think, after 2 days or so, we went back to the same thing, and I'm sure you knew what was going on, but it's still about access, and you ignored us. So, what was in your mind, when such instances happen?
Well, oh, yes, I remember the dialogue with the sound, that beep, 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 and screeching. Uh, those are the times when having access to the internet was a Herculean task. But you know what I was thinking? That you are learning to problem solve. You are learning to hack system, and you are learning persistence. So yes, you are breaking the rules. You tapped the phone line. You stayed up all night. You are downloading who knows what, but it's usually some programs and not anything bad. But here is what I saw. You figured out how to connect. You understood the technology well enough to manipulate it. You had a goal, downloading something, and you were determined to achieve it. Those are engineering skills. And now I could have punished you, shouted, or banned you from the computer. But what will you have learned? That is fear or hiding or stopping. Instead, I explain. I understand why you did this, but here is why it is problematic. Here is how to do it better. So the principle you see, Faiz, my role as a mentor isn't to prevent you from making mistakes. It is to create an environment where mistakes are learning opportunities, not punishment. When you broke the keyboard, that was a lesson in cause and effect. When you tapped the phone line, that was a lesson in problem solving and ethics. I wanted you to be bold, to experiment, to push boundaries, but also to understand consequences and think about better approaches. And I believe that that also made you to, to be a good leader in uh, flexi serve. Uh, that is not trivial. That required understanding of hardware, software, networking. I was annoyed about our phone bill, of course, but I was proud of your ingenuity and also still access. Like when you are in FCT with Erufai, also we had a program called GAP to give access, to give the staff access to computers. And we encourage them all to buy both laptop and desktop, specifically desktop, so that at home their children will have access to the computer and have access to the internet. So that access that we got from Ya Abubakar Computer Center and the books in the library. So we try as much as possible to do the same thing. Thank you.
And thank you very much. And talking more about access, I also recall at our dad's office at Savannah Sugar Company Limited, they had a computer center in with Mr. Colade was the head then. So we always go whenever we are there. We are excited to go to the computer center. Still, he was also into programming, teach us some programming. We play games and so on. But fast forward, the time I was going for my internship, I wanted to go to Intercellular then, a telecom company. And I think for me, because my elder brother Saad and uncle Ali Usman Gamu went there, I always followed their footsteps. But also, then mobile phone was luxury. Not everyone had that access. But when they were intercellular, they had their own mobile phone and they were getting allowance. So I just thought, oh, let me go there. But you advised me to go to Quantech instead, and that was also a major, turning point in my life. So why did you, take that decision and advise me to go to Quantech?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you wanted to follow your brother, and most people also wants to follow their elders, what their elders do. But sometimes that is natural. But I could see something you couldn't see yet, because I had this my friend Dr. Fidelis that has Quantec, and he was my brainstorming partner because we shared similar things. So I needed you to build a software system, not just understand telecom infrastructure. So when you go to telecom infrastructure, you will understand the infrastructure. At that company, you will have learned about networks, base stations, switching system, which are very, very valuable knowledge, but mostly hardware and infrastructure. And in this part of the world, we are very poor in those aspects too. So, but at Quantec, you will learn how to build actual software system from the ground up, enterprise architecture, real world coding, how businesses also use technology. So I knew you were going to be a builder, not an operator. So I knew your future was in software systems, that is building platforms, not maintaining infrastructure. So the principle is that this is one of the hardest things about mentorship. Sometimes you have to redirect people away from what they think they want towards what they actually needed. Like even big companies too, like even Microsoft was against internet until when some of the staff went for holidays in Silicon Valley and came back. So he had to now abandon one department completely and refocus them that this is where we're going to focus. So your brother's path worked for him, but your path was different. I could see that even if you couldn't yet. And look what happened. Quantec taught you enterprise software development. That became the foundation for FlexiServe. Mm? If you had gone to telecom company, will FlexiServe exist today? Maybe, but it will be different because you wouldn't have had that deep exposure to building complex software system. And the lesson here isn't that I'm always right. You know, the lesson is that seek counsel from people who can see your trajectory more clearly than you can at that particular moment. I had 20 plus years of experience then. I will see how careers develop. I could see where technology industry was going. You were 20 something with limited perspective. You trusted me. You went to Quantec, even though you wanted telecom, and it worked. That is not magic. That is what good mentorship does. It extends your vision beyond what you can currently see. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Many people know you as, engineer in structures and so on, some as a geek in ABU, but many also know you as, a public servant who became the DG of NIMSI, so there's that public service in you as well, and also leadership. As the DG of NIMSI, you scaled the NIN database from 7 million to over 100 million in just a few years. That's nation scale engineering, which today is the foundation of, the identity system in Nigeria, and is being integrated in immigration, and so on. And I recall, after I graduated before NYSC, my brief uh, internship at Quantech again, we worked on some of these projects then. It was very early concept of national ID and so on. And Dr. Fidelis gave us some of the assignments. And there was this, very big plan to have this foundation and things like security, police, and all of those things will be integrated. And you happen to contribute in building that foundation. What did it take to lead such a massive transformation, from systems architecture to people management?
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think it was terrifying, but we thank God for it. So it started by planning, and that is when I also met Tommy Davis, uh, uh, Dr. Armstrong, and Fidelis. So we started by brainstorming. Every night we spend like 3 hours just brainstorming how the system will look like. So none of us built something like that, but we use our continuous design. So when I got the call in 2015, the database, as you said, had 7 million records. So, but what people do not know that by that time, because I was director also, so we have already built the back end. So the back end system is there working. So a lot of people thought we can't then do it. So, and Nigeria had over 200 million people. So the mathematics was daunting. But the real challenge wasn't the numbers. It was building something that had never existed in Nigeria at that scale. Digital infrastructure. That is the nervous system of the digital economy. So that statement was said to me by our current president then when we went and captured him. He told me that what you are doing is that you are building the nervous system of the digital economy. It's not enough to just connect the uh, the passport, but what of the anchor borrowers and so on and so forth. So that was our president's statement. So from a system architecture perspective, this required everything I had learned since 1980. Computational thinking from the Fortran days. How do you break down a problem this massive into manageable components? And then in the around 1994, I was struggling with Lisp. Uh, how do you design system that scale without proportionally scaling human resources? And then system integration from the GIS databases that I work on. How do you connect identity to every other national system? That is the banking, as we talked about, voting, healthcare, and education. And mind you, all these ones too are competitors. So you have to devise a skill to really deal with all that. And of course, finally, the translation skills. That is from all those years. How do you explain technical complexity to policymakers? How do you translate those policy requirements into technical specification? So, what it, so the people management, but here is what surprised me. The technical challenges were easier than the human challenges. I, you may be thinking that the technology may be the issue, or when you look at technology, process, and people, and then you think that maybe the process or technology usually is the people, because whatever you do, the people may come up with some other strategies. So you are dealing with government bureaucracy, multiple stakeholders with competing interests, technical teams that need motivation and direction, external vendors and partners, international organizations, the Nigerian public. Every single one of those requires different communication styles, different approaches, and different kind of leadership. But what matters more is the team approach. So I learned at PTF under uh, our late President Buhari and also the late Uncle Salijo Ahmad that teamwork is critical to the success of any project. You can't build a system for 100 million people alone. You need technical experts who understands the system. You need project managers who can execute. You need policy experts who understand governance. You need financial experts who can secure and manage resources. And also you need communication experts who can engage the general public. So my job wasn't to do everything. My job was to assemble the right team, give them clear direction, remove obstacles, and keep everyone aligned to the mission. So and also the funding also didn't just appear like that. It also requires building relationships with international development partners, demonstrating that we could execute responsibly, creating detailed proposals and budget, following through on commitments and showing incremental progress. Because the first year we doubled that 7 million to 14 million. But meanwhile, my vision was 10x. So what I said is that I was going to multiply it by 10x, but the reality was that it was 2x. So 14 from 7 to 14 million. And also the next year too, we doubled the 14 to 28 million. So it was an astronomical growth. And it is the growth that is required to push everything to also, because that is the only job that you do. Others that wants to do this job are doing other things. So you focus on the fundamentals. That is the foundational. We reduce the data to only foundational, what is required for a person to identify himself, and left the others to the other functional databases. But of course, it has personal um, cost too. Let me be honest, with and with everyone listening, that there were years when I didn't design a single building. My structural engineering practice at IEA was on hold. Okay, I chose breadth over depth because I started by depth, being a nerd, you understand, and having a deep foundation. But later in life, you have to choose breadth over depth, impact over mastery, and learning over expertise. So I have to be learning so many things and also engage others and also mentor people. Some people think that is a compromise, but I think that is a strategy. And also, NIMSI too was a learning organization. And most of the courses that later on that they took, sometimes NIMSI staff will take first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, up to seventh are all NIMSI members that when they do courses in the ministry. So I gave up being the best structural engineer I could have been. There were moments late at night dealing with crisis when I questioned whether I had made the right choice. But then I think, how many buildings will I have designed in 8 years? Maybe 50, maybe 100. Instead, I built a system that is foundational to Nigeria's digital economy, that touches the lives of over 100 million people, that enables banking, voting, and social services. The impact scales differently. That is the choice I made. Not everyone could make that choice, but I am at peace with it. Thank you very much.
Wow. That was really impactful and, a very big achievement indeed, and also for the country at large. Talking about mastery, the uh, breadth and so on. I recall while you were DG at NIMSI, I went to your office and you were explaining to me, you were trying to solve a GIS problem using agent values, agent vectors, and so on. I was thinking, wow, you still have time to be technical while leading, this massive organization and building these systems, and also to relate to it to a quote I learned that late Ali Ahmad said about you, that what will take maybe 10 or more engineers to complete in like 2 months, just give it to engineer this alone and you get it done in a week or so. So how do you balance, the technical aspect, the leadership, and uh, the efficient productivity?
Well, thank you very much. The code you talked about from my late uncle Salijo, that he was very generous. A lot of people always feel that even when I was given a DG NIMSI ship and somebody told me that he met Erufais and he said, oh, it is Aziz. He said, okay, that the work will be done. Go. I don't know how people feel like that, but I think is the mentorship that I also received from those people. But let me tell you what he was really saying, that it wasn't that I was 10 times smarter. It is that I had developed system that eliminated wasted motion. Sorry, my battery is down. Oh,
Mm. Okay, let's give it a moment. I'll pause recording while he reconnects.
was responding to I was responding to the question about the what let Salijo Ahmad says about efficiency. So, um, as I said, I wasn't. It wasn't that I was 10 times smarter. It is that I developed system that eliminated wasted motion. And there are principles, many principles. So, but one of them is about deep work, not busy work. Most people confuse motion with progress. Uh, like when we were on campus, there was a lady that failed her exams, but then people were wondering every day she has been going to the library. So until when somebody says, "Do you know what she was reading in the library?" That she used to go with comics in her bag and go and read them in the library, so not doing the right thing. So responding to emails or looking busy. I learned early from the grazing cattle, balancing Quran and school, that time is finite. You have to protect your deep work time. When I'm solving a technical problem, I'm not multitasking. I'm not checking email. I'm not in meetings. I'm completely focused for 2 to 3 hours block. Actually, in my engineering, pupil engineering, you will be taught how to stay for 8 hours, 8 hours without move. And that is the only way that you can design. But if you come late and then before 2 or 3 hours that you are going out again to go and do something, and then you do this, then you may not likely to be a designer. So you can be a business person, but not a software developer or an engineering designer. So that level of focus let you solve in one day what others take a week to solve because they are constantly interrupted. The second app is about automation and leveraging. Remember that for me in 1994, I did my Lisp story that I was spending 70% of my time redrawing same details. So I automated it. 3 days became 30 seconds. So that principle applies even everywhere. If I'm doing something repeatedly, as can this be automated? Can this be systematized? Can this be templated? Today, if you can think of the whole of your work from checking emails to responding to your WhatsApp and everything else, everything can be automated. You can have AIs that can do that. So at NIMSI, we didn't manually process each identity record. We build systems that handle millions of records automatically. One of my happiest days was when we checked the IBM servers P7 series that we were using to see when many records are coming, what is the limit. We found out then and even today that it is only the network bandwidth that is the limit, but it's not those servers. So that is why we are able to handle everywhere, enrollment from anywhere, and we get the response immediate. That is leverage, automation, and also system thinking. There was a time that when our partner says, okay, what is the big picture? So I was a director then, so I went to the board and pick something and then draw the front end and then the back end, how enrollment will come in to go into the system, and then shows that we will then build the database, the law, what the law says, and how we can give access. And everybody agrees that that's the big picture. But that picture, I was just drawing it that day. It's not that it was there on my head, but it's the consistent, deep work that uh, that brings that. Then the third thing is pattern recognition. The whole of our AI is pattern recognition. After 40 plus years, I've seen similar problems across different domains. When you have solved structural analysis, database design, GIS, as you said, an identity system, you start recognizing patterns. So new problems aren't actually new. They are variations on patterns you have seen before. That pattern recognition lets you move much faster because you are not starting from scratch. You are adapting proven approaches. And also, so the work it is that, let me be honest, I work hard. That is what my colleagues and everybody says. I've always worked hard. Grazing cattle from dawn to dusk taught me endurance. Can you imagine that you leave home before every other person wakes up? So there is no breakfast for you. There was no lunch for you. It's whatever that you got in the bush that dinner will be kept for you. And by the time that you come back, others are already sleeping. And then you will be the last person to sleep. You will be the first person to wake up and then go and do. That multiple responsibilities taught me time management. My mother's death taught me that time is precious. You can't waste it. When I'm working on something important, I'm fully committed. Long nights, early mornings, whatever it takes. So when I do some of the AI courses from from India, they're 10 a.m. is 5:30 a.m. here. So, and you have to start and work for like 9, 10 hours. That is the way that you solve problems. But I'm not just working hard. I am working smart and also hard. That combination, structured thinking, automation, pattern recognition, deep focus, and genuine hard work. That is what my late uncle was saying. And that the depth that you talked about, um, I'm not, I'm, yes, I'm not maintaining technical depth in everything. So my technical depth was my initial uh, 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 time that I was learning to be a nerd. to have deep knowledge. But now I'm maintaining it in areas that matter and recognizing pattern across the domains. So that GIS problem you are talking about, that is eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Let me explain why that wasn't as complex as it seems. In structural engineering, we use eigenvalues analysis for modal analysis, understanding how structures vibrate, finding natural frequencies, analyzing dynamic behavior. And in GIS, eigenvalues are used for principal component analysis, that is spatial filtering, understanding spatial relationships. So same mathematical concept, different application domain. So understanding that concepts is the most important than even doing the calculation itself. I was learning I wasn't learning eigenvalues from scratch for the GIS. I was recognizing, oh, this is the same pattern I use in structural dynamics, just applied to spatial statistics. That is translation. It's not a transformation, but translation between domains. That is pattern recognition. And that is how I stay technical is that most leaders make mistake. They assume leading means stopping doing, but that is not correct. They delegate everything. They stop coding. They stop analyzing. They become so much strategic, which often means removed from reality. Or even young people that are software developers, then moving to project management. That me, I'm just managing the project. Wrong. You have to deep before you can manage the deep or manage others. I believe you can't lead what you don't understand. So I was very much current in most of the things, most of the technical things, and that is how I move my team. So I maintain hands-on technical work in two ways: selective deep dives. I don't try to stay current with everything. That is impossible. But I pick specific problems that are critical or interesting and I go deep. I write code, I run analysis, I get my hands dirty. That keeps my technical intuition sharp. It keeps me grounded in reality, and it earns credibility with technical teams. There was a time I asked my son to set up my computer when I came back late at night. So he told me that some of his colleagues were asking him, how does their father stay current? He told them, well, he sits on his decks and do that. And secondly, learning by teaching and explaining. So when you explain a complex technical concept to someone else, like I was doing with you that day, you're forced to clarify your own understanding, find the core principles, connect to what they already know, and teaching is how I deepen my own mastery. But there's a balance. I can't do deep technical work 40 hours a week while also leading strategic initiatives. But I can do 5 to 10 hours a week of focused technical work. And that is enough to stay sharp, maintain credibility, understand what my teams are dealing with, and recognize when someone is not giving me something that is correct. So the broad principle is that this goes back to diversification within specialization. I'm not trying to be the world's best structural engineer and the world-based GIS analyst and the world-based database architect. No, I'm maintaining enough depth in each area to understand the problems, recognize the patterns, translate between domains, and lead effectively. That is different from mastery, but it is perfect for system leadership. And in my current AI learning too, I understand that you use the principle of a T, that you are deep in one but you are broad in the whole organization, and what they used to call butterfly effect, that you have knowledge of most of the areas, but you are deep in one particular area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Definitely, we will have a part two of this podcast. Very a lot to talk about. Very interesting. I can see, everyone learning and excited. Before we talk about your AI journey, as we started mainframe to AI and how you continue to remain relevant in the cutting edge technology, and things like that. Um, I want to talk about leadership, which is very, key to me. And for me, all this, it's like the my story, FlexUp story. Somehow, I don't know whether you've got some revelation somewhere and have a script for me, but I just finished secondary school, and before I knew what leadership is all about, I was into computers. You didn't hand me over a textbook, just a textbook. Then you handed me, you know, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And to be honest, then I was reading the book, so many words I didn't even know their meanings. I have to use the dictionary and so on. But the concept of that book remained very fresh in my memory. It has taught me a lot from early days. Being like an introvert, never imagined I would, lead an organization. That was very instrumental, to me. So why did you give me a leadership book, at that young age? And how is leadership important in lifelong learning?
Well, thank you very much. Again, everything has a connection. So me too, one time in the early 90s, so um, Erufai invited me to his house, not only to his house, but to even to his bedroom, and that I should look at the books. And then he also recommended that I should read that book. So because I could see you are going to lead people, not just write code. So even as a teenager, I could see you are naturally curious about the system. You think about how things work together. You care about teaching others. You want to build things that impact many people. Those are leadership qualities, not just uh, technical uh, qualities. So why the seven habits? Like I said, me too, it has handed over to me. So technical skills alone don't scale. We already talked about the fundamentals, that is the technical, the process, and then the people. Those managing the people, there are timeless things that have been developed. You can write brilliant code, design elegant system, but if you can't communicate your vision, build teams, manage conflicts, understand people's motivation, and balance competing priorities, then your impact is limited to what you personally could build. So leadership multiplies impact. That book, Seven Habits, teaches fundamental principles. They are like be proactive, that is, take responsibility of your life, begin with the end in mind, that is, have a clear vision, put first things first, that is, prioritize effectively, think win-win, create value for everyone, not that you are a Shylock that you just want to take everything by yourself. Seek first to understand, that is, listen before speaking. That is why most of us are good at listening than speaking, uh, and synergize, collaborate effectively, and sharpen the saw. That is continuous self renewal. That is the continuous learning that we've been talking about. Those aren't just self-help platitudes. Those are engineering principles for human systems, not for coding. So I learned leadership through hard experiences, working with my uncle, learning teamwork, grazing cattle, learning responsibility, my mother's mediation, learning wisdom and patience, Jesus Ganye, learning self-control, PTF under led Salijo, learning how good leadership enables achievement, FCT under Erufai, learning focus and courage, and NIMSI, learning to lead at national scale. I wanted to give you a framework so you didn't have to learn everything through trial and error. Here is the deep truth. Leadership is also engineering. Leadership is also politics. It's not the way that people talk about politics. Politics is leadership. So when you are leading people, you are designing organizational system. You are optimizing the workflows. You are identifying bottlenecks, balancing loads, and also managing dependencies. Same thinking, different material. Therefore, throughout my career, I have tried to maintain certain values. Integrity, do what you said you will do. Stewardship, you are managing resources that aren't yours. Coaching, help others grow. Vision, see beyond the immediate, and service. It is not about you. Those values come from my mother, my uncle, my experiences in Ghana. They were reinforced by leaders I worked under, and they are what I try to pass to you. The results, and look, you can then look at FlexiServe. It is not just technically excellent, it is well led with a clear mission, building a team that shares values, serving thousands of schools, creating social impact. That is leadership plus technical excellence. That is why I gave you that book, Faiz.
Thank you very much. I can never thank you enough. We hope to follow your footsteps and also give back, to the younger ones. As we round up, we definitely have to talk about AI. AI today is changing everything, and for me, the disruption, it's really huge that I think not many people understand what's ahead of us. And for you, who is, retired but not tired, will have thought, oh, this AI is not for me again, it's for the next generation. But, as a lifelong learner, you recently completed level 7 in the AI Accelerator Challenge program you are doing. And I'm fortunate to also be part of a project you are working on how to use AI to transform structural engineering. So why AI? Why are you not slowing down? Tell us more about your AI journey.
Well, you said retired. Well, maybe for people that entered public service and went through, then they can retire. But for me, I started from the private practice before I entered the public service. Therefore, there's no retirement. It's just that I will just go back to what I have been. So let me tell you what happened in that later 2023. I was watching the news about ChatGPT. I'm seeing what these large language models can do, and I had this moment of recognition. I was feeling that this is 1980 again. That is when I was introduced to the mainframe. So this is same feeling, same excitement, same pattern, a new technology that is going to transform everything. I have a choice, watch from the sidelines or be part of building it. I chose to be a beginner again. The AI Accelerator Challenge, finishing level 7, that was, for me, forcing myself to go deep, not just play with ChatGPT, really understand how large language models work, what prompt engineering means, how to structure complex AI workflows, how to build AI-powered application, how to integrate AI into my professional practice, how to use the agents, use the workflows. So now I'm working on something nobody has done it before, because when I was probing Claude, it told me that this is something new. That is AI prompt engineering standards for the structural engineering. So think about it. Structural engineers have standards for the design codes that they use, materials, construction methods, and quality control. But we have no standards for how to interact with AI, how to convert architectural drawing into structural design, ensure code compliance through the AI verification and having the rack attached to it, use AI for the load analysis, optimization, documentation, maintain professional responsibilities while also using AI and taking the responsibility by the engineers. So I'm creating those standards. This frontier work, that is what Claude told me. Nobody has done this for engineering discipline yet. So why am I still learning at 60 plus? People ask, at what, why at your age? Why not rest? Here is why. The love affair never ended. That love affair that started in 1980, finding solace and joy in computers, that feeling, that fascination with what we can do with machine, that hasn't changed in 44 years. Secondly, I've seen this movie before. I've seen what happened to professionals who refused to adapt. In 1994, engineers who refused to learn computer-aided design CAD became obsolete. In 2005, professionals who ignored databases lost opportunities. In 2015, organizations that didn't embrace digital were left behind. And in 2024, professionals who ignore AI will be disrupted. I don't want that to happen to Nigerian structural engineers. And thirdly, everything I've learned compounds from Fortran in 1980 that informs my prompt engineering today. The Lisp automation from 1994 that informs my AI workflow design. The system thinking from NIMSI that informs my approach to AI adoption. So everything connects across the 44 years. But here is the real goal. I'm now the deputy president of the Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers, elected using AI-powered WhatsApp campaign, by the way. So I use AI WhatsApp campaign to win this race. That is, and my mission is that when I was told that, no, you have to use a business account, you do this and so on and so forth, I kept all this aside and used my principles. And even when somebody told me that, no, WhatsApp can block your this thing because it may say that you are spam. Again, I just introduced delays, 20 seconds here, 30 seconds here, so for it to now send this thing. So and nothing happened. So the whole knowledge compounds. So my mission for 2025 to 2026 is digital transformation of our entire profession. Not because it is trendy, because I've seen what happens when professions fail to adapt. I'm building the bridge for Nigerian engineers to cross that AI era. And I'm still uncomfortable. And honestly, I'm still uncomfortable with AI. There's so much that I do not know. The technology is evolving so fast. But that discomfort, that is data. That means I'm still growing. If I ever become comfortable, that is when I should worry myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of knowledge and information. I'm sure many people here are wondering how are you able to do this, the encyclopedic mind and stuff like that. So as we round up, what advice will you give to people that think they are already very late to catch up? And also, over the last 4 decades from Ganye to ABU to NIMSI, what are you most proud of, and what one message will you give to your 20-year-old self?
Well, thank you very much. For people that say too late to catch up, let me tell you something directly. You are never too late unless you decide you are too late. I have started serious AI work now at 60 plus. I'm competing with people in their 20s, 30s who grew up with this technology. Am I the world's best prompt engineer? No, but I'm capable. Am I contributing? Am I building things that matter? Absolutely. So how to start? If you have been away from learning for years, here is how to restart. One, start embarrassingly small. Don't try to learn everything. Pick one thing, one course, one project, one skill. For me in 2023, it was let me understand how ChatGPT works. That is not let me master AI. Just understand one tool. Secondly, give yourself permission to be bad. The hardest part of learning later in life is ego. So you are used to being competent. Now you are a beginner again. That uncomfortable, embrace it. I ask stupid questions on online forums. I made basic mistakes. I watched tutorials meant for teenagers. Who cares? The goal is learning, not looking smart. And thirdly, connect new to old. You are not starting from zero. You have decades of experience of something. Find the bridge between what you know and what you are learning. I connected Fortran logic to Python logic to prompt logic, Lisp automation to AI automation, structural optimization to AI model optimization. Your existing knowledge is an asset, not a liability. So build something immediately. Don't just consume tutorial. Build something and be smart. If you want to build if you want to, if you want to have a company similar to certain other companies, just go to those websites and take images of the website and go to AI and ask how to develop that kind of image. It doesn't matter if it is simple. It doesn't matter if someone's built it before. The act of building or the act of artist is copying of applying your own learning. That is where real learning happens. Find a community. Learning alone is hard. Find people who are also learning. Online forums, like in my abuse area, I have to go to the computer users room to learn something. And then there are many people that I can ask questions. And also later on, many people that can ask me questions. So, or local meets up. Nowadays, it is online, just the way we are working here. So the questions others ask also do help. That is the accountability helps. But the most important is the mindset shifting. Uh, Here is the real secret. Stop thinking I am am I too late? Start thinking, am I moving forward? The question isn't whether you can catch up to everyone. The question is whether you are better today than yesterday. And are you learning something new this week? Then you are winning. And the time argument is that in 5 years, you'll still add 5 more years. But if you are learning something, you add 5 years plus something. So you have to choose. So let me close this with that story that I talked about. A mathematics PhD student was stuck for weeks on the problem. And at that time that they opened our mainframe computer from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at night. Just that is the way that the library too was open. So it was not the time for 24 hours of everything. Even TV opens in the evening and closes at night. So, but they have to get permission to allow the computer to run the night. So it works like 2.5 days without solution. So that is what I solved. I built, I optimize it to then work. Why? Not because I was smarter, but because I was willing to try. I didn't tell myself I'm just an engineering student. I can't solve a PhD math problem. I just tried. And that is the mindset you need. Not, can I do this? But let me try and see what happens. You will be surprised. You are not too late. You are exactly on time. Start to do today. Okay, and on my closing is that what am I most proud of? It is not the buildings I design. It is not even the 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 identity infrastructure. It is not the $433 million that I secured. It is not even the 100 million records, but it is the people. So as I said before, among technology, process, and people, the most important asset is the people. Faiz, you sitting here today running FlexiServe, serving thousands of schools, mentoring others, that makes me more proud than everything I have personally built. The engineers I taught at ABU, the teams I led at PTF, FCT, NIMSI, the young professionals I have mentored, the students who have reached out years later to say, you changed my path. That is the legacy. Buildings fall, systems get replaced, technologies become obsolete, but people compound. You teach one person, they teach 10. Those 10 teach 100. That is leverage. That multiplication of impact, that is what I'm most proud of. And the message for my 20-year-old self is that the boy who just lost his mother, who found solace in Cyber 72 series mainframe, I will say everything connects. Nothing is wasted. That Quran you are memorizing, that is teaching you discipline and focus. Those cattle you were grazing, that is teaching you endurance and responsibility. That Fortran you were struggling with, that is laying the foundation for 44 years of computational thinking. The pain you are feeling right now from your mother's death, that is teaching you resilience and the preciousness of time. Every experience, even the painful ones, is preparing you for something you can't see yet. But for everyone else, whether you are 20, 40s, or 60s, here is my message. One, start where you are, not where you wish you were, not where others are, where you are right now. I started in Ghana with no advantages. You start with what you have. Two, learn continuously. If you stop learning, you stop growing. That principle guided me from 1980 to 2024. It will guide me until my last day. Wisdom and knowledge acquisition, as I said earlier, is a moral duty. Thirdly, diversify within specialization. Don't limit yourself. Engineers learn humanities, artists learn technology, specialists maintain broad interests. The connections between domains, that is where innovation happens. It happens at the connections, not within. Embrace discomfort. Every time I was uncomfortable, I was growing. In 1980, I was uncomfortable with Fortran. In 1994, I was uncomfortable with Lisp. Uh, and in 2005, uncomfortable with information system. In 2015, uncomfortable with national responsibility. And now in 2025, uncomfortable with AI. Discomfort is data. It means you are at growth age. Then teach what you are learning. Don't hoard knowledge. Share it. Teach it. Mentor others. You learn more by teaching. You create more impact by multiplying yourself through others. And then choose. At every inflection point, you have a choice. Will you be shaped by change or will you shape the change? I've chosen to shape it for 44 years. You can make the same choice. Remember, it is not about you. The buildings aren't for you. The system aren't for you. The knowledge isn't for you. In fact, one of my bosses told me that your knowledge is public property. You are a steward. You are here to serve. You are here to contribute. That perspective changes everything. From Gonye to ABU to NIMSI to AI, it has been 44 years. The CDC Cyber 72 mainframe is a museum now. The punch cards are gone. The technologies have changed a dozen times, but the love affair that started in 1980, that is still alive. The willingness to be uncomfortable, still there. The commitment to learning, unbroken, and the desire to serve and teach, stronger than ever. That is what is permanent. Technology changes, tools evolve, but the capacity to learn, to adapt, to reinvent yourself, that is eternal. And it is available to everyone. So to everyone listening from Air Bubakar Computer Center, find that place where you discover something that doesn't make sense yet, but fascinates you. Anyway, start there, be uncomfortable, learn continuously, teach others, serve faithfully, and never ever stop growing. So thank you, Faiz. And this has been very special. And to everyone who is listening, your 44-year journey starts today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's really, I feel very, very emotional, with all the memories and the big, shoe you've left for us. We hope that we can fill it in. And we are really inspired by today's session. I would like to use the last few minutes, to talk about the opportunities we all have. We've heard how, engineers started uh, in Ghana without computers, no internet, um, waking up early in the morning, going to the farm and all of that. And today we have all this luxury, right? Uh, in our hands. And that's why for me, I'm so passionate about lifelong learning. And, I feel that we don't have any excuse in this age not to be lifelong learners and continue to make impact. And that's why we started distinction. Our journey from Flexa, when we started, it's more about computerizing and automating schools. But the vision has always been about learning, this lifelong learning. And fortunately for us, as technology advances and now in the age of AI, we have launched Distinction.app, an AI-powered teaching and learning platform that empowers creators to turn any syllables into a full course, in just minutes, and gives every student an AI agent that personalizes their learning. That is the vision. We want to turn everyone into a lifelong learner, that will unlock their full potential. So you don't have any reason not to get started today. Just visit distinction.app/learners, or scan this QR code to start learning. We already have thousands of courses, on the Distinction platform. And the good thing is there's no limit, which I'll explain why. We already have, like I said, libraries of courses and so on. But in case you do not even find the course that you are interested in, you can create any course of your choice. We've seen many interesting courses from how to build a rocket, how to bake, cake and all of that. So you can learn anything, build your courses on distinction. And also talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people. This, like more than 2 decades, is still fresh in my memory. The first time I was handed over that book by Engineer Aziz, by Stephen Covey. And this, in FlexiServe is one of the foundation of leadership that we encourage everyone, to read. But for those of you that, are not, very, are not good in reading, you now have this on distinction, with videos, flashcards, and so on to make you grasp the concept of leadership very easily. So visit Distinction and just search for the 7 habits or scan this QR code to get started on your leadership journey and lifelong learning today. And also, before I close, this, like I said, we'll definitely have a part two with engineers this, but this is also coming up next week, start today. So stay tuned, stay with us. AI, is now changing everything. And we'll be looking at AI and the future of career opportunities, how to remain, relevant, how to continue to reinvent yourself, just like engineers. This we'll hear from these three experienced data scientists, Andrew Gomez, Khalil Muhammad, and Sadiq Sani from AWS and Storytel. So stay tuned. Visit our various platforms, register for this another exciting journey. Because of time, unfortunately, we will not be able to take questions, but I promise you, like I said, there will be a part two and you will dedicate more time for people to ask questions to engineers. I'm sure they have a lot of questions for you, sir. We will really be honored to have you for part two. So thank you, everyone. It's been very productive, almost 2 hours, and we appreciate your time. Looking forward to see you again. Bye.
Thank you very much. I believe that the student has become the teacher, Faiz. That is exactly how it should be. So now go break some more keyboards.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye for now.